My name is Sienna Bishop. I'm 33 years old. And on a Tuesday night, lying on my sofa in my pajamas, I found out my family had booked a $2,000 venue to celebrate a birthday. My birthday. And my name wasn't on the invitation. Not left off by accident. Not forgotten in the rush of planning. Deliberately, carefully, completely removed. Someone had chosen a font, picked the paper stock, written out my sister's full name in gold calligraphy, and at no point during any of that did they think to add mine. Not once. Not even as an afterthought tucked into a corner. I need you to understand something before I tell you what happened next. I am not a dramatic person. I have never made a scene at a family dinner. I have never sent an angry text at midnight. I have spent 33 years being the quiet one, the steady one, the one who shows up and asks for nothing and absorbs everything and goes home alone, and tells herself that this is just how it is. That some people need more attention than others. That love doesn't always look like equal distribution. That being overlooked is not the same as being unloved. I told myself that for 3 decades. And then I saw that invitation on my cousin Bren's Instagram story, and something inside me, something I had been carefully maintaining and patching and holding together with the absolute last of my patience, finally went still. Not angry. Not devastated. Still. The way a door goes still after it's been locked from the other side. Let me take you back to where this actually begins, because it doesn't begin on that Tuesday night. It begins in 1993, when I was born on the 14th of September, and then again in 1996, when my sister Lauren was born on the exact same date, 3 years later. Same day. Different years. A shared birthday that, in theory, should have meant a shared spotlight. In practice, it meant 33 years of standing next to someone else's cake. When I turned 10, I asked for a space-themed party. That summer, I had become obsessed with the solar system. I had glow-in-the-dark stars on my bedroom ceiling. I had memorized the order of the planets and the names of Jupiter's moons and the distance from the Earth to the Sun in kilometers. I cared about this with the whole heart of a 10-year-old who had found something that felt like hers. Lauren, who was 7, wanted a princess party. My mother didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. Lauren is younger, Sienna. Next year can be space. I spent my 10th birthday stuffed into a Cinderella dress that was a size too small, watching my sister spin in a tiara while my grandmother offered her a second slice of cake. Next year never came. It just became the following year's version of the same thing. When I turned 16, I asked for one single thing. Dinner at the Italian restaurant downtown with my 2 best friends. Just the 4 of us. My mother had already booked a bouncy castle for Lauren's 13th. Your sister has been looking forward to this all month. I ate cold pizza in the kitchen while Lauren and her friends screamed in the garden, and I told myself it didn't matter. That 16 was just a number, that I was old enough not to need a fuss. When I turned 21, I suggested dividing the day. Brunch for me, dinner for Lauren. My mother sighed the way she sighed when she wanted me to feel unreasonable for existing. Why do you always have to complicate things, Sienna? So we had dinner. Lauren's friends, Lauren's music, Lauren's favorite restaurant. I had 2 glasses of wine and left before the desserts came out and told the cab driver I was fine when he asked and cried in the elevator going up to my apartment and told absolutely no one. I never complained. I told myself that wanting to be seen was not the same as deserving to be seen. That if I was patient enough, quiet enough, good enough, they would notice on their own. They never did. Here's what you need to know about Lauren and me right now in the present before I go any further. I am an accountant at a mid-sized company in the city. I pay my own rent. I drive a 10-year-old Honda. I have not asked my parents for money since I was 18. I put myself through university on a scholarship and 2 part-time jobs, and nobody organized a party to celebrate that. Lauren worked, or so I believed, in marketing. She lived in an apartment my mother had helped her secure. She drove a car my mother had co-signed. When her credit card balance spiraled out of control last spring, my mother covered it. None of that bothered me. People need different levels of help at different times in their lives. What bothered me were the phone calls. Every Sunday my mother called me. And every Sunday the call was the same. Lauren got promoted. Lauren is seeing someone new, a dentist. Lauren needs a little help with her car payment this month. The call lasted 12 minutes. 11 of them were about Lauren. The last minute was my mother saying, "Well, I'll let you go, sweetheart. Take care of yourself." The last time my mother asked me about my life, specifically about mine, not as a segue into something about Lauren, was 4 months ago. And the question was, "Can you lend your sister $300? She's waiting on her paycheck." I don't hold it against Lauren for being loved. What hurts is that love in my family seems to exist in a fixed amount, and Lauren carries the entire reserve. My mother doesn't hate me. I understood that a long time ago. Hating someone requires thinking about them. My mother simply doesn't think about me. I exist in the margins of her life. A footnote in a book written entirely about someone else. And the hard thing, the thing I could never quite explain to anyone who asked, is that being invisible doesn't leave bruises. It just leaves silence where a voice should be. So there I was. A Wednesday night. The kind that isn't supposed to matter. Pajamas, half watching a baking competition, scrolling Instagram on autopilot. Bren's story appeared, my cousin, 28, the one who still tags me in memes at midnight. I opened it expecting something ridiculous. It was a photograph of an invitation. Ivory cardstock. Gold leaf border. Calligraphy so perfect it looked machine printed. "You are invited to celebrate the 30th birthday of Lauren Elizabeth Bishop. Ashford Estate. September 14th. Cocktail attire. RSVP to Diane Bishop." My mother was the organizer. My mother was managing the RSVPs. September 14th. The day that had also been mine for 33 years. And on the invitation, one name. One. I zoomed in. I read it again. Lauren Elizabeth Bishop. That was all. No Sienna. No, and her sister. No, even a secondary line. Just Lauren, in gold, on ivory, with fairy lights strung around the border, like a crown. I sat up on the sofa. The baking program continued. Someone was piping buttercream roses. I stared at the invitation on my phone for 10 minutes, without blinking. My chest didn't hurt. My eyes didn't sting. I just felt a strange crystalline heaviness, like a door I had been pushing against for years had finally been locked from the other side. Not forgotten. Forgetting is accidental. This was a decision. Someone designed that invitation, chose the font, typed my sister's full name, and did not once consider typing mine. My mother reviewed it, approved it, sent it out. Bren messaged me 20 minutes later. "Hey, did you get your invite?" "I just realized." I replied, "No, I didn't get one." 3 dots appeared. Then, "Oh my God, Sienna." I put the phone face down on the cushion. The host of the baking show said something about sponge layers. I picked the phone back up and called my mother. This time I was not going to stay quiet. She answered on the second ring with a cheerful, distracted voice, like someone who had been expecting a different call. "Oh, hi, sweetheart. I was just finishing the seating chart for..." She stopped.
"Mom."
I saw the invitation. Silence. 1 second.
2.
3. I could hear her breathing change.
"For the 14th, I said."
"My birthday is the 30th of Lauren's, Sienna." Her voice went careful. The voice she used when selecting which version of the truth to offer me. "It's also my 33rd, I said. Same day. Same day as always. We can only afford one party, Sienna. Do you understand? You spent $2,000 on a venue. It's Lauren's 30th. That's different." "Different how?" A pause. "A 30th birthday is special. And mine was special because I spent it at your house eating leftover lasagna while Lauren opened presents." She exhaled. That particular exhale she made when she felt cornered. Lauren has had a very hard year with the promotion and everything. I'm not going to apologize for celebrating my daughter. "Your daughter," I repeated. "You have 2. "I know, Sienna." The line went flat, clipped. "I'm not in the mood for your drama." "When have I ever been dramatic, Mom? Tell me one time." "One time I made a scene." "Nothing." She had no answer. "I don't want to fight about this," she said, and she hung up. That was the entire conversation. No explanation. No guilt. Not one moment of realization. Just her favorite word for me, dramatic, and the dial tone. She didn't call back. She never calls back. But this time, something was different. because I didn't call back either. The next morning, Bren called before I finished my first coffee. Her voice was low, the voice of someone delivering bad news they didn't cause. She had been talking to Aunt Susan the night before. My mother had told the whole family that I wasn't coming to the party because I had a work deadline. She told them I had sent my love to Lauren, that I was sorry I couldn't make it. I stood in my kitchen and let that settle over me like cold water. My mother hadn't just excluded me from the party. She had built a cover story. She had invented a version of me, a cooperative, understanding, willingly absent Sienna who had smiled and waved from a distance so that no one would ask questions. A version that doesn't make noise. A version that doesn't make anyone uncomfortable. If I stayed quiet, that version would become real. Every aunt and uncle and cousin at that party would leave believing that Sienna chose not to come. That Sienna has always been more independent. That Sienna doesn't really need these things. And year by year the fiction would calcify until I wasn't the daughter who was excluded. I was the daughter who left. Bren, I said, she isn't ignoring me. She's rewriting me. Bren didn't argue. She just said, so, what are you going to do? I tried Lauren first. A message, no confrontation. Hey, can we talk about the birthday? She read it at noon. Nothing by 3. I was pacing the apartment at 6, telling myself I was absolutely not checking the phone every 4 minutes, while absolutely checking it every 4 minutes. Her reply came at 6:47. Mom told me you had work. It's fine, Sienna. Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird. As if I were the one who had printed invitations for the birthday we shared and removed half the people who shared it. I called my father, Greg Bishop, 60 years old, retired postman, conflict avoider of the highest order. He answered with the voice of a man who already knew why I was calling and wished I wasn't. Your mother handles the organizing, sweetheart. There was no invitation sent to my dad to check. He sighed, long and slow and rehearsed. I'll talk to her. He wouldn't. We both knew it. He had been talking to her for 33 years, and the only thing that had changed was the speed with which he agreed to whatever she wanted. Just don't do anything you'll regret. Dad, I've spent 33 years regretting doing nothing.
He had no answer to that.
We said goodnight. At 11 that night, lying in the dark, my phone buzzed. Lauren. Also, Mom said to save you a piece of cake. A piece of cake. From a $2,000 party. On my birthday. A party I wasn't invited to. She was saving me a piece. I stared at that message in the dark for a long time. Then I closed my eyes. My sister had just offered me a slice of my own birthday. So, I decided to bake the whole cake myself. The following Saturday morning I sat at my kitchen table with a notebook and a pen and did something I had never done in 33 years. I planned my own birthday party. I called the Marrow and Vine, a small seasonal restaurant downtown with exposed brick and candles on every table, the kind of place where the host remembers your name. I reserved the back room for 15 people. Saturday, September 28th, 2 weeks after the Ashford estate party. Then I opened the notebook and I wrote the list. Lee, my best friend since freshman year of university. The person who drove 4 hours through a snowstorm to help me move apartments. Marco, my other closest friend, an art teacher who sends me a happy birthday message at midnight every single year without fail. Dana and Kef from work. Bren, of course. My cousins Nia and Tyler, who had always treated me like I mattered, even when the rest of the family wasn't bothered. 11 names. For blank lines. I sat looking at those blank lines for a long time. Here's the thing about planning your own birthday when you're 33. You realize how much you have outsourced the question of what you actually want. I didn't know what theme I would choose. I didn't know what cake I preferred when nobody was choosing it for me. I had spent so many years adjusting to what Lauren wanted that I had lost the shape of my own preferences. At 1 in the morning, I was still awake, searching on my laptop. How to plan your own birthday party. The first result was a blog post titled "You Deserve to Celebrate Yourself." I read every word. I closed the laptop. I looked at my guest list. 2 spaces still empty. I had the feeling that life was about to fill them for me. September 14th arrived. My actual birthday. I ordered Thai food, poured a glass of wine, Put on a film I had been meaning to watch for 6 months. The plan was simple.
Do not open Instagram. Do not think about the Ashford estate.
Do not think about 60 people raising glasses at a party that had my date on it and not my name. The plan lasted 40 minutes. My thumb opened Instagram before my brain could stop it. And there it was, scrolling through story after story. The venue draped in fairy lights hanging from the ceiling like a second sky. A cocktail bar with a neon sign that read Lauren's Fabulous 30. A photo booth with gold accessories. A 3-tiered cake in pink and ivory with Happy 30th Lauren written in cursive fondant across the middle tier. My mother appearing in a candid with her arm around Lauren's waist, her face radiating a pride I had spent my whole life trying to earn. The caption said, "My precious girl. So proud of you always." I scrolled through 47 tagged posts. Cousins, friends, co-workers, aunts, and uncles. Not one mentioned my name. Not one said happy birthday to Sienna too, or I wish you were here. I didn't exist in a single frame of that party. They didn't forget me. They never included me. Bren messaged at 10 that night. Your mom told everyone at the party that you sent your love, but had work. I stared at the message. My mother had invented a Sienna who waved from far away and chose to stay home and was at peace with all of it. Not only had she erased me from the party, she had replaced me with a ghost of myself who smiled and didn't make trouble. 2 days later, my mother called. She sounded like she was floating on leftover champagne from the event. The celebration was beautiful, sweetheart. Lauren was so happy. I wish you could have been there. I pressed the phone harder against my ear. You told everyone I sent my regards, Mom. Well, I assumed you would have. You assumed wrong.
Silence.
The floating stopped. I could hear her recalibrating, sorting through her options. Deflect, minimize, redirect. She chose all 3 simultaneously. I don't understand why you have to make everything about you, Sienna. That was Lauren's night. September 14th has been my night for 33 years too. You're being dramatic. There it was. That word. The word she reached for whenever I had the audacity to say something out loud instead of swallowing it. Then name me one birthday party that was mine. Just mine. One. Silence, so complete, I thought the call had dropped. Then I heard it, her short, irritated breathing. The kind that comes before crying or hanging up. I can't talk to you when you're like this. The line went dead. I set the phone on the counter. I didn't throw it. I didn't shout. I just stood in my kitchen listening to the silence of my apartment and understood something that should have hurt more than it did. My mother had just hung up on me for asking why I wasn't invited to my own birthday. And she was the one who felt wronged. That was the trick. It had always been the trick. Turn every question into an attack. Suddenly, I wasn't the person who was excluded. I was the person who had ruined the atmosphere. I didn't call. And this time I meant it. Greg called that evening. His voice had that sandpaper quality, the sound of a man who had been coached to say something he didn't fully believe. Your mother is upset, sweetheart. Why, Dad? Because I noticed or because I said something. He sighed. Can you let it go for the good of the family? What family? The one that forgot I exist. Nobody forgot you, Sienna. It's just that the organizing got complicated and Lauren was so excited and you. The sentence died in his mouth. There was nowhere for it to go. Dad, were you at the party? You know I was. Did you think about me even once? On our birthday, in a room full of people celebrating Lauren? He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was smaller. I thought about you, but you didn't say anything. And now you're calling me to ask me to let it go. Soft goodnight. He hung up. 30 minutes later, I opened my father's Instagram profile. He had posted a photo 2 hours earlier. Himself, my mother, and Lauren at the main table. All 3 of them, cheeks together, beaming. The caption read, "Proud Dad. Happy birthday to my girl."
Girl. Singular.
My father hadn't forgotten me. He had stood in a room on my birthday, smiled for a camera, and chosen the version of his family that was easier to hold. I closed the app and stared at the ceiling for a long time. My guest list was still on the nightstand. 2 blank lines. I didn't know yet what Carly knew about my sister. I didn't know yet why Lauren seemed to need me to disappear. But I was starting to ask the question. And asking questions in a family that runs on not asking them felt dangerous. The good kind of dangerous. The second crack in everything appeared where I least expected it. I was at the Maple Street Cafe on a Thursday, waiting for my latte, when I ran into Holly Park. We'd known each other from high school. She worked in media planning now. We did the obligatory 10-minute catch-up, whether mutual friends who had gotten married or moved away. Then Holly tilted her head. "How's Lauren? Is she still at Belwick and Partners?" "Actually, she just got promoted. Senior Accounts Director." Holly's face did something subtle. A flicker of confusion, quickly smoothed over. "Oh, great. A friend of mine, Amy, works in that office." She mentioned Lauren's desk had been empty for a while. Months, she thought. I blinked. Empty. Amy heard Lauren was let go. But she might be wrong. Maybe she transferred or works remotely. Holly shrugged, sipping her coffee. "You know how office gossip is." I nodded as if it didn't matter. We talked for 5 more minutes about nothing. Then I drove home with both hands on the wheel. Lauren had told us she was promoted. She had told our mother on a 45-minute phone call, the details of which my mother had relayed to me in a state of pure joy. "Senior Accounts Director, Sienna. Can you believe it? Your sister is doing so well." My mother had sent flowers to Lauren's apartment. She had offered to take her shopping for a new professional wardrobe. I kept turning Holly's words over in my mind. Her desk had been empty for months. My mother had organized a $2,000 party to celebrate a promotion that might not exist. I didn't call anyone. I didn't confront Lauren. I just let it sit there, that heavy, strange feeling of a picture frame hanging slightly crooked on a wall everyone insists is perfectly level. I messaged Carly on Friday. "Can we get coffee?" We met somewhere on the outskirts of town, far enough away that no one would recognize us and report back to my mother's intelligence network. Carly was thinner than I remembered. She ordered black coffee and wrapped both hands around the cup like she was holding on to something. "Belwick," I said. She looked up. "Who told you?" "Friend of a friend." Empty desk. Months. Carly exhaled like someone releasing a breath she had been holding for weeks, waiting for permission to finally let it go. "She was fired 4 months ago," Carly said. "Performance metrics." Lauren had been inflating the numbers, making campaigns look more successful than they were. They let her go quietly, no press, no lawsuit. She just left. And she told your family she got promoted. Carly looked at the coffee cup. "I found out through someone I knew at Belwick. I called Lauren, not to judge her. I called because I was worried. I said, 'Let me help you figure this out.' She cut me off in under an hour. Called your mother and told her I was spreading lies because I was jealous of the promotion. Your mother blocked me everywhere. She sent a message to the group chat. Carly is no longer welcome in this family." Carly's hand trembled slightly on the cup. "Your sister doesn't lie because she's cruel, Sienna. She lies because she is terrified that without the title, without the success story, your mother won't look at her the same way." I sat with that, because Carly had just described the exact engine that had been running my family for 30 years. My mother's love wasn't unconditional. It was a performance review, and both of her daughters had been living inside that economy, just on completely different sides of it. "I didn't come looking for revenge," Carly said. "I came because I thought you deserved to know that the person who erased you is also erasing herself." I looked down at my guest list. The first blank line had just filled itself. The Sunday after the Ashford party, my mother hosted her regular family dinner. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, the good dishes. I hadn't been to a Sunday dinner in 3 weeks, not since before the invitation. But that day I got in the car and drove the 20 minutes and walked through the door. I needed to see it for myself. Not through Instagram, not through Bren's messages. I needed to sit in that house and watch my family in real time. The living room was already a shrine to the previous Saturday. Framed photos on the mantelpiece. Lauren and my mother. Lauren with her friends. Lauren cutting the 3-tiered cake. A poster-sized print of Lauren in her gold dress leaning against the dining room wall, waiting to be hung. 9 photos on the mantelpiece. Not one included me. Not one acknowledged that September 14th belonged to 2 daughters.
Not one.
My mother saw me from the kitchen doorway. Her smile froze for exactly 1 second before she rebuilt it. Sienna, what a surprise. I thought you were still buried in that work deadline.
No deadlines, Mom. Just my birthday weekend.
I thought I'd spend it with family. She blinked, studying my face for sarcasm. She found none. I kept my expression flat and readable. She pulled me into a hug that smelled of roast chicken and Chanel No. 5. Well, you missed a beautiful party, she said, guiding me toward the table. Everyone asked about you. What did you tell them? That you were swamped with work. Did they understand? She said it without hesitation, without guilt. She had repeated this lie so many times it had become indistinguishable from her truth. Lauren arrived 20 minutes late, still wearing the residual glow of the party, like a second outfit. She swept in with the gold earrings my mother had given her at the event, the ones I recognized from 14 different Instagram posts. She hugged everyone, laughing, bright, the room immediately reorganizing itself around her like a solar system adjusting to accommodate the sun. She saw me and paused, just half a beat. Then the smile returned.
Sienna.
I didn't think you'd be here today. I wouldn't miss family dinner. She sat across from me. My mother served the chicken, and immediately the storytelling began. Lauren, tell everyone about the photo booth, the one with the gold accessories. Lauren launched into it, animated, holding the table. Uncle Dean laughed. Aunt Marlene nodded. The whole table leaned toward Lauren like flowers following light. Halfway through the wine, my mother addressed the room. I just wish Sienna could have been there, but our girl had a brutal deadline. You know how accountants are. Aunt Susan, seated 2 chairs to my left, had been quiet this whole time. She turned to my mother. Wait, Diane. Wasn't Sienna's birthday also on the 14th? The table went still. Not dramatically. Just that half-second of silence before everyone decides which way to move. My mother laughed, bright and practiced. Oh, Sienna's never been big on parties. She's always been more understated. Isn't that right, sweetheart? Every face at the table turned to me. I could feel the collective expectation that I would nod and smile and embody the easy version of myself that my mother had been narrating for 3 decades. Actually, I do like parties, I said. I just haven't been invited to one in a while. Silence. Uncle Dean coughed. Lauren looked at her plate. My mother's smile hardened at the edges like cooling wax. Aunt Susan looked from me to my mother. Her expression shifted. The confusion became something quieter. Something that looked like understanding. After dinner, my mother raised her glass. She had done it 1,000 times before. The Bishop family toast. The small speech she gave every time something significant had happened in Lauren's life. A promotion, a new boyfriend, a party that cost more than my car. I just want to say, she began, in that warm, rehearsed voice, how proud I am of this girl right here. She pointed her glass at Lauren. 30 years old. A career she built from the ground up. Senior accounts director at one of the best agencies in the state. I thought of Holly Park's words. Her desk had been empty for months. I held my face still. Lauren, you're the daughter who makes me proud every single day. Happy birthday, darling. Every glass rose. Happy birthday, Lauren. The words hung in the air like smoke. Not one syllable for me. Not one happy belated to Sienna. Not one footnote. Not one acknowledgement that the woman sitting at that table had been born on this same day 33 years ago and had driven 20 minutes to be in this room and had been asking for 33 years to be seen. Aunt Susan did not raise her glass immediately. She waited. Then she leaned toward me, her voice low enough for only me to hear. Happy birthday, Sienna. I looked at her. She was watching me with those calm eyes, the look that said, I see what's happening here, and I'm sorry. Thank you, Aunt Susan. You shouldn't have had to be the one to say that. She patted my hand under the table. It was a small thing. 2 seconds of human warmth from the only person in that room who had said my name in the right context. But something opened in my chest that I had been keeping sealed for 33 years. I didn't cry. I just memorized the feeling, because I was going to need it for what came next. Lauren intercepted me in the hallway on the way to the bathroom. She leaned against the wall with her arms crossed, blocking my path. What was that comment at the table? Which one? About not being invited. I said I haven't been invited to a party in a while. That's accurate. You made Mom uncomfortable. Mom made me invisible. Lauren, I think she can handle one sentence. Lauren rolled her eyes. The habit she'd had since she was 14. You were always invited. Your family. If you wanted to come, you just had to say so. I wasn't on the invitation. The invitation was a formality. A formality with only your name on it. She shifted her weight, uncrossed and recrossed her arms. She was losing the thread, and she knew it. Can you not make my birthday about you for once? I'm not making anything about me. I'm standing in the hallway of our parents' house on the weekend of my birthday, at a dinner where Mom toasted one daughter and didn't mention that the other one shares the same date. I didn't bring it up. Aunt Susan did. Lauren glanced toward the dining room and then back at me. Her jaw tightened. You always do this. You stand there with that quiet, sad face until someone notices and feels bad. That's your thing. Then why was it Aunt Susan who noticed?
Why not you?
Why not Mom? No answer. Her mouth opened, closed. She turned toward the dining room. Mom, can you come here a moment? I watched her retreat, and something settled inside me. This was never between Lauren and me. It never had been. Lauren was playing a role assigned to her before she could speak. The director had been in the kitchen the whole time, loading the dishwasher, pretending not to hear a word. I left before dessert. Nobody asked me to stay. My mother was in the kitchen talking to Lauren in a low, urgent voice. My father was collecting plates with the mechanical efficiency of a man who had learned that if he kept his hands busy, nobody expected him to speak. At the door, Aunt Susan caught my arm. Are you okay? I will be. She squeezed my hand. Call me if you need anything. I drove home with the windows down. September air, still warm, with the first edge of autumn underneath. The radio was on, and I wasn't registering what played. My mind was already at my kitchen table, looking at a guest list with 2 blank lines. Inside the apartment, I opened my laptop. The guest list was saved in a document I had titled my birthday. 2 words I had never put together without Lauren's name attached. I typed Carly Webb into the first blank space. I stared at the second one. In the version I had imagined, I would leave it open for whoever showed up because they wanted to, not because they felt obligated. There are some seats better left empty than filled with duty. I messaged Carly. My birthday is September 28th at the Marrow and Vine. Would you like to come? 3 minutes. Her reply, I'll bring the wine. I closed the laptop, washed my face, lay down on the bed. I didn't invite Carly to punish Lauren. I invited her because she was the only person I had met in the past month who understood what it was to be crossed out of Lauren Bishop's story. We didn't owe each other loyalty. We weren't forming an alliance. We were just 2 people who had been erased by the same hand and had found our way to the same table. I had absolutely no idea what Carly was going to say when she got there. Lee arrived first, carrying a wrapped gift and the flannel jacket she'd had since university. Marco came right behind her with a bag of ridiculous party hats he'd found in a dollar store, gold cardboard crowns that said Birthday Queen on the front in glitter. Dana and Kef arrived together straight from the office, still in their work clothes. Bren walked in holding a cake box with both hands flat like it was radioactive, set it on the table, and lifted the lid. White buttercream, simple decoration, and written across the top in blue icing, just Sienna. I stood looking at those 2 words for 5 full seconds. My throat tightened. Bren watched my face. Too much. It's exactly what I needed. Nia and Tyler arrived together. Tyler was already wearing one of Marco's gold crowns. The room filled with noise, chairs scraping, coats piling up on hooks, someone ordering the first bottle of red. 15 people. No photo booth. No DJ. No neon sign with anyone's name. Then the door opened one more time. Carly Webb came in holding a bottle of Pinot Noir with a small nervous smile. She looked around the room like she wasn't sure she belonged. I crossed the space and hugged her. She went stiff for 1 second, then relaxed. Happy birthday, Sienna. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. For the first time in 33 years, every single person in my birthday party was there because they chose to be. No one was pressured. No one was performing a role. No one was checking a box on a family obligation. Every candle on that cake belonged to me. The dinner was roast chicken and seasonal vegetables to share. The wine flowed and the room warmed, and then Lee stood up, tapping her glass with a fork. I have something to say. She was 5'2", but she had a voice that could fill a stadium. The table went quiet. When I was 20, my car broke down on the highway in the middle of a snowstorm at 11 at night in -12 degrees. I called Sienna. She drove 3 hours through a blizzard to come and get me. 3 hours. In a blizzard. Because I called her.
She turned to me.
That is who you are. And the fact that it took 33 years for someone to organize a party that is genuinely, completely, entirely yours is a crime. The table erupted. Marco raised his glass. Dana spoke next from her seat, the way people do when emotion catches them off guard. Sienna remembered that my daughter had tonsillitis in March. She showed up at my door with homemade soup and a coloring book. Nobody at work knew my little girl was sick. Nobody. Kef followed. She covered my audit last year when my father was in hospital. She didn't tell anyone. I found out 3 weeks later. Story after story, small and quiet, the kind that never appears in a mother's toast because they don't come with a title or a salary increase. Just evidence of a person who showed up reliably and without fanfare. I sat at the head of the table and let it wash over me. The eyes burned, but I kept them dry. This was the version of me my family had never looked at. These people had drawn a portrait of Sienna Bishop that my mother had never bothered to see. Then Carly stood up. The room went still. Not the uncomfortable kind of still. The kind that happens when everyone senses that something true is about to be said. She held her glass in both hands. The nervousness was gone from her face. She looked like someone who had been waiting 6 months to say something honest in a room that could actually hold it. I don't know Sienna well, she began, her voice steady and measured. But I know what it feels like to be pushed out by someone you trusted. I know what it is to tell the truth and be told you're the problem. I know what it is to be rewritten as the villain because you saw something you weren't supposed to see. She paused.
Breathed.
Every face at the table was turned toward her like a compass needle finding north. I spent 8 years being loyal to someone who dropped me the moment I became inconvenient. The moment I knew something she didn't want known. And when I tried to help, when I tried to say this isn't right, I was blocked, erased, recast as the jealous one, the liar, the threat. She didn't name Lauren. She didn't mention Belwick. She said nothing specific at all. Sienna is different, Carly continued. She doesn't need to inflate a title to feel important. She doesn't need to fabricate a success story to seem interesting. She doesn't need to silence a friend to protect her image. The air in the room shifted. I felt it. Bren's phone was pointed toward Carly. Not dramatically, just instinctively, the way you record something when you know it matters.
So,
to Sienna Bishop. Carly lifted her glass. A woman who does not need a $2,000 venue to prove she deserves to be celebrated. A woman who has never once pretended to be something she isn't to earn a seat at the table. She looked directly at me. Happy birthday, Sienna. 15 glasses rose. The clink moved down the table like a small wave. Carly had not said Lauren's name once. She had not revealed a single secret. She had simply told the truth about who Sienna was. And in doing so, by contrast, she had outlined the profile of who Lauren was not. That toast was a mirror, not a bomb. But mirrors can be devastating when someone has spent years running from their own reflection. The party ended at 10. I hugged everyone twice at the door and drove home with the remains of the cake on the passenger seat. The apartment was quiet. I put the cake in the refrigerator, washed my face, sat on the edge of the bed feeling full. Not from the dinner. From having been seen. The phone buzzed at 11:30.
Bren.
Lauren just called me. She saw Nia's story. She's beside herself. I opened Instagram. Nia had posted a clip of the toast. Just the last 30 seconds. The part about the $2,000 venue and not needing to pretend. It had 47 views. One of them was Lauren. She had watched it 4 times. By 12:15, Another message from Bren. Your mom called Lauren. Now Lauren is calling everyone asking what Carly said. At 12:45, Lauren watched Bren's story, a photo of the cake with just Sienna across the top. Lauren screenshotted it. At 1 in the morning, my mother's name lit up the screen. I watched it ring until it stopped. She left no message. Lauren started messaging me directly, one after another, no punctuation. Why did you invite Carly to your party? What did she tell you?
You don't know the whole story, Sienna.
She's a liar, and you're falling for it.
Call me right now.
I read every message. I didn't respond. I turned the phone face down on the nightstand. The apartment was dark and quiet. I thought about my mother's toast at the Ashford estate, the daughter I'm proud of every single day. I thought about Carly's toast at the Marrow and Vine, a woman who has never once pretended. 2 toasts,
2 daughters,
2 completely different kinds of love in the room. At 2 in the morning, the phone rang. Lauren Bishop. I picked up. How dare you? That was how she started. No greeting. No preamble. Just volume. How dare you invite that woman to your party? Do you have any idea what she's saying about me? I sat up in the dark. She didn't say your name, Lauren. Everybody knows it was about me. Inflating a title, fabricating a story. She's trying to destroy me. She's just describing what happened. 5 seconds of silence. I could hear Lauren's breathing. Jagged. The sound of armor cracking and air rushing in through the gap.
You don't know what you're talking about, she said.
Quieter now. Controlled again. Then tell me. I'm listening.
Pause.
Are you still at Belwick? The line went completely still. Not silence. I could hear her swallow. I could hear the creak of a chair. The particular stillness of someone realizing the question they feared most has just arrived. That's none of your business, she said. You're right, I said. Just like my birthday wasn't your business. But you organized a party on the day we share and didn't put my name on the invitation. And now you're calling me at 2 in the morning because someone at my party said something that made you uncomfortable.
So tell me, Lauren.
Who is making whose birthday about themselves? Nothing. Just breathing. Then her voice broke. Not in anger. In something raw. Something that sounded like fear. Sienna, please. She couldn't finish the sentence. She didn't know what she was asking me not to do. Because I hadn't done anything. I had organized a party. Invited a friend. That friend gave a toast. Good night, Lauren. I hung up. The $2,000 party already felt like something from another life. Sunday morning at 9:15, my mother's name on the screen. She had been crying. I could hear it before she said a single word, that wet, fragmented quality in her breathing. Lauren is devastated. Her voice trembled. She cried all night. How could you do this to your sister? What did I do, Mom? I organized a birthday party. You invited that woman. Carly was a guest at my party. Lauren had 60 guests at hers. One of mine bothers Lauren. That's the issue. The issue is that you're trying to punish this family. I closed my eyes. Counted to 3. The issue is that this family spent $2,000 on a party on my birthday and didn't think to include me. And when I said so, you called me dramatic. And then you told Aunt Susan I don't like family events. And then you gave a toast for one daughter and forgot the other one was sitting at the same table. So, Mom, tell me, which part of that is my punishment and which part is just true? Silence. Then, I didn't forget you, Sienna. Then why didn't you say my name? Even once. Just once. The crying stopped. The line went cold. When she spoke again, her voice had that brittle quality, the one that meant she had stopped being the wounded party and switched to something harder. I can't talk to you when you're like this. You have never talked to me, Mom. That's the whole problem. She hung up. 10 minutes later, a text from Greg. Your mother is very upset. Can you apologize so we can move past this? I read it twice. Then I put the phone in a drawer and made breakfast. Greg came to the apartment that afternoon, unannounced, standing on my doormat in his weekend jacket with his hands in his pockets, looking at the floor like it owed him an explanation. I let him in. I poured 2 cups of coffee. We sat at the kitchen table. He didn't start immediately. He held the cup in both hands and stared at the steam. Then, I know we haven't been fair to you, sweetheart. Then why didn't you say anything?
At the party.
On the phone. Any time in all these years. He ran his thumb along the edge of the cup. Because it was easier not to. Easier for who? Not for me. He raised his eyes. The rims were red. I'm sorry, Sienna. I let the apology sit. I didn't rush to accept it or push it away. I let it take up space at the table the way it should have years ago. I don't need you to confront Mom, Dad. I just needed you to see me. He nodded slowly. His gaze drifted to the refrigerator. A strip of photo booth pictures from a supermarket machine. Me at 10 years old, grinning at the camera in a Cinderella dress that was a size too small. He hadn't noticed it before. He looked at it for a long time. I see you now, he said quietly. I should have seen you much sooner.
Yes, you should have.
We sat with the silence. It wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. And honest was already better than anything that had come before it. He finished his coffee. At the door he turned. For what it's worth, that cake Bren made. Just Sienna. It made me think. About what? About how many years I let it only be Lauren. He walked to his car. I closed the door. I didn't feel healed, but I felt heard. And right then that was enough. That night I sat in front of my laptop and wrote the hardest message I had ever written. Not because the words were complicated, because they were simple. And simple truths are the ones my family had spent 33 years avoiding. I opened the family group chat. All 4 of us. And I typed, I love this family. But I am done pretending that being overlooked is the same as being loved. I am not apologizing. I am telling you what I need from now on. I need to be treated as if I exist. Not as Lauren's older sister. Not as the reserved one. Not as the one who is busy with work. As Sienna. If that is too much, then we need distance. This is not a punishment. This is me choosing myself for the first time. I read it 4 times. I deleted nothing. I pressed send. The message sat in the chat, read by all 3 of them, for 2 hours without a reply. My apartment was quiet. The leaves outside the window had started to turn. I waited without expectations. At 9, Bren messaged privately. I'm proud of you. At 9:15, Nia sent a red heart. Tyler wrote, about time, cousin. At 11, Lauren replied in the group. This is so unfair. You're making me the villain when I haven't done anything wrong. I read it. I didn't respond. There is nothing to say to someone who looks at 33 years of imbalance and sees themselves as the wronged party. My mother never replied in the group. Not that night. Not the next day. But Greg messaged me privately at midnight. For words. No punctuation. No emoji. Just the minimum expression of recognition from a man slowly learning that silence has a price. I hear you, Sienna. The cracks spread quietly after that, the way they always do in families. Not an explosion. A slow leak. That week Aunt Susan called my mother. Why did Sienna say she wasn't invited to the party? You told me she had a work deadline. I found out through Bren, who heard from Nia, who had been on the phone with Susan's daughter. The same network that had carried my mother's cover story was now carrying the correction. My mother told Susan it was a misunderstanding, that Sienna had exaggerated. Susan didn't press. But she didn't let it go either. She told her husband. He told his brother. By Wednesday, 3 branches of the Bishop family were quietly asking whether Diane had really forgotten to invite her older daughter to her own birthday. At a weekend gathering at Uncle Dean's, Tyler, with his particular gift for asking the question everyone else is afraid to say aloud, turned to Lauren. So, how's the new promotion going? Senior accounts director, right? That's huge. Lauren picked at her salad. It's been great. Very busy. What's the biggest account you're managing right now? I can't discuss client accounts. Confidentiality agreements. Tyler nodded, but his eyes narrowed. He was an engineer. He knew when someone was answering a question they weren't asked instead of the one they were. Bren messaged me that night. People are starting to connect the dots. Carly got cut off. Lauren won't talk about work. You got excluded from your own birthday. Nobody is saying it out loud yet, but the questions are building. I didn't respond with satisfaction. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt that flat, strange tiredness of watching a structure you always knew was fragile begin to tilt. I hadn't pushed a single domino. I had simply stopped holding them up. 2 weeks later, Lauren blocked me on every platform. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn, which felt strangely professional for a family crisis. Bren became my window. She's not doing well, Bren said carefully. The people we know in common are asking questions about Carly, about Belwick. She can't keep the story consistent anymore. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. The weight of a lie is not in telling it. It's in maintaining it. And Lauren had been maintaining hers for 4 months, performing a version of success that required constant upkeep. It was always going to come apart. I had just stopped papering over the cracks. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my mother called. Her voice was different. Not crying. Not sharp. Just flat. Tired. What's happening with your sister's job, Sienna? That's Lauren's story to tell, Mom. But you know something. A pause. I could have deflected. I could have steered the conversation somewhere safer. But I had been swallowing the truth for 33 years to keep a peace that was always a lie anyway. I know that you spent $2,000 on a party celebrating a promotion that may not have existed, I said. And I know that you didn't spend a single cent on the daughter who showed up every day, paid her own bills, and never asked you for a thing. The silence stretched. I could hear her kitchen clock through the phone. That's not fair, Sienna.
No, Mom.
It's not. This time, she didn't hang up. She just breathed. And in that breathing, I heard something I had never heard from Diane Bishop before. Not guilt, not theater, not the careful calculation of how to spin a situation. Just a woman sitting alone in her kitchen realizing that the story she had told herself about her family didn't match the one that was actually true. I'll call you later, she said. And she hung up. Softly. No click. Just a quiet fade. Carly messaged me on a Thursday. Without preamble. 3 people from our friend group have reached out to me this week. They said they're sorry for believing Lauren's version without asking mine. I called her. She picked up on the first ring. How does it feel? She laughed once. Short, dry. Half relief, half exhaustion. Honestly, I thought it would feel better. One of them, Missa, said she should have asked for my side of it. And all I could think was, yes, you should have. 6 months ago, before I spent half a year wondering if I was the crazy one. You weren't the crazy one. I know that now. But knowing something and feeling it are different timelines. We talked for an hour. Not about Lauren. Not about Belwick. About normal things. Her job, mine. A restaurant she had tried, a book I was reading. The kind of conversation 2 people have when they're building something new instead of recovering from something old. Before she hung up, she said, Lauren called me yesterday. Did she?
Yes.
She didn't apologize. She asked if I had told you about Belwick. That was all. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry I told everyone you were a liar. Just, what did you tell Sienna? What did you say? I said I didn't need a spokesperson. The truth doesn't need one.
I smiled at that.
The first smile in weeks that didn't carry bitterness on the back of it. The following morning, Carly sent me a photo. 2 cups of coffee on a cafe table. Morning light coming through a window. The caption, first coffee date as actual friends, not survivors of a Bishop family story. I saved the photo. Something was growing in the space where my family used to be. Smaller. Quieter. But real. And real was all I had ever wanted. November arrived. The leaves outside my apartment window had turned the color of old coins. The air smelled of wood smoke and cold rain. Things had changed. Not dramatically, not the way they do in films. Quietly. The way real change actually changes. I spoke to my mother less, not zero, not silence as punishment, just less. I had stopped filling the gaps she used to leave empty. She still called on Sundays, but the calls were shorter. She asked about my work. She said that's good when I told her about a client. She no longer mentioned Lauren's promotion. I think we both understood why. Greg called every Thursday afternoon. Short calls, 10 minutes, sometimes less. He asked how my week was. He talked about The Garden, a documentary he had watched. He was no longer mediating between me and my mother. He was just talking to me, like a father talking to a daughter. And I realized it might have been the first time he had done that without another agenda. Lauren had not spoken to me since the 2 in the morning call. She was still blocked everywhere. Bren said Lauren had finally told my mother the truth about Belwick, that there was no promotion, that she had been fired 4 months ago and had been pretending ever since. According to Bren, the truth had not landed well with my mother. I didn't feel vindicated. I had thought I would. I had imagined there would be some satisfaction in the moment when the life finally reached the truth. But there wasn't any. Just a dull ache for a sister I had never quite had. And a mother who was only now learning that the pedestal she had built for one daughter had left the other one standing in the rain. I hadn't burned any bridges. I had just stopped crossing the ones that only went one direction. And for the first time, the view from my side of the river looked like somewhere worth standing. The call came on a Wednesday with no occasion attached, no holiday, no event, just a random November afternoon.
Sienna.
I owe you an apology.
I set down my pen.
Quarterly reports on the kitchen table. Gray light through the window. I said nothing. I waited. I don't know when I made everything about Lauren. Her voice was stripped of its usual production quality, the carefully chosen phrases, the built-in defense. She sounded like a woman talking to herself who had dialed someone else's number by accident. I think I was so afraid of losing her that I forgot I was losing you. You didn't forget, Mom. A sharp intake of breath.
She didn't argue.
She didn't say that's not fair, or I can't talk to you when you're like this. She sat with it. I know, she said. And I'm sorry. I let the words land. I didn't rush to say it was fine. It wasn't fine. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. 33 years of being second doesn't dissolve in a single phone call, no matter how sincere. Thank you for saying it, I told her. It doesn't fix 33 years. But it's a start. She cried. Not with the theatrical edge I was used to, not the crying she used to end arguments. This was the sound of someone finally hearing themselves say something they had been avoiding for a very long time. I didn't hang up. I just waited. I'm not going anywhere, Mom, I said. But things have to be different. Really different. I know. Then, very quietly, Lauren told me about Belwick last week. The real story. I know. How long did you know? Long enough to know it wasn't mine to tell. She was quiet after that. When she finally said goodbye, she said, I love you, Sienna. She said my name like she was learning it for the first time. Late November. I was at my kitchen table on a Saturday morning, coffee in hand, sunlight cutting through the window in long diagonal lines. The apartment was quiet. Not the heavy silence of someone who has been left out. The light silence of someone who has chosen peace. I looked at the calendar on the wall. Next September was already there in faint blue lines. I picked up a pen and I wrote on the 14th of September, in neat, clear letters, my birthday. No dash. No and. No shared credit. Just mine. On the counter, my phone was open to a photo from September 28th. 15 people around a table at the Marrow and Vine. Candles flickering. Glasses raised. Bren's cake in the center. White frosting, blue icing, 3 words. Just Sienna. I was in the center of the frame. Not at the edge. Not cropped out. Not a footnote. In the center, where I had always belonged and never been allowed to stand. I messaged Carly. Same time next year. Her reply came fast. I'll write the speech. I smiled, set the phone down, finished my coffee. I don't know what happens next with my family. My mother is trying. Imperfectly, clumsily, like someone using a muscle that has been still for decades. My father calls every week. Lauren is still somewhere in the middle of the distance between who she pretended to be and who she actually is. Maybe she'll close that gap. Maybe she won't. I can't control it. I never could. I spent 33 years waiting for a seat at someone else's table. Waiting for my name on an invitation. Waiting for a toast. Waiting for one single moment where someone in my family looked at me and said, "You matter just as much." It turns out I was always allowed to build my own table. And the chair at the head of it fits me perfectly.